Hey there. Quick question for you. Are you tired of losing important ideas, struggling to keep your digital notes organized, and being frustrated when you sit down to get work done? You, what happens? You come face to face with chaos of notes everywhere, half baked thoughts, unclear ideas, and you aren't able to focus on getting the work done that you sit down to do. You end up wasting precious time sifting through disorganized files, feeling overwhelmed, and being unproductive. Well, I'm here to help you. Don't worry. You don't have to stay there. There is a way to deal with that. And today I'm going to share some tips with you that you can use that'll help you get past or eliminate this situation. I'm going to share it with you because it's things that I've had to learn to do over time. And hopefully, using two particular systems or two particular digital note taking apps, you'll be able to figure out or for yourself adjust and use them. I've heard this that sometimes you just got to try stuff. So, if you got to try stuff to get past being stuck, today is for you. I'm going to tell you now what the core ideas are. We're going to use some strategies to help you capture ideas quickly and easily and seamlessly, organize your notes effectively, and most important, be able to find and retrieve your notes with ease. So, I'm going to encourage you as we go through, take these ideas and then adjust them and adjust the practices to ensure that they work for you. Glad to have you in the building with me this evening. And I'm going to go out here and say hello to a few folks who have joined me. Always glad to have you guys. And I'm going to just say this as we get going here. If you're new here and you've never been with us, go ahead and put hashtag newbie in. And if you're one of the regular crew, put hashtag live tribe in in the chat, in the comments. Want to be able to definitely identify those who are brand new in the community visiting with us for the first time. So let's see who is out here today. Of course, hello, Frank Jackson. Glad to have you over here waving with me, y'all. He over here waving. And our one of our moderators, and welcome, Miss Inanea, one of our moderators. Moderators, salute to you, ma'am. So glad to have you. And I need to get some stuff to you. The moderators are showing up, y'all. Emotional CEO, glad to have you in the building, and happy Friday to you. And we also have the wonderful Yolanda with Ravens Talk with Yolanda. I'm waiting for the game. I'm waiting for the game, young lady. Waiting for the game. Let's see. Did I miss everybody? I didn't miss anybody. So glad to have you guys with me today. And I'm going to start by asking you a question. And I want you to put the answer in chat. And that question is, what is your challenge with taking and retrieving notes? It may not be what I started with, the description that I started with. You may have a different challenge that you're facing, but I want you to go ahead and leave it in the comments. And if you're part of the replay crew, leave a question about this topic and an answer to this question in the comments as you're watching the replay. For those who don't know, this is the Purposeful Productivity Show, and I am glad to have you here, like I said. But here we talk about strategies and tips and workflows to grow your productivity, to help you reduce and eliminate friction in your productivity system so that you can accomplish the thing that you set out to accomplish and you're not fighting against yourself, as I often say, trying to get things done. So the two apps I'm going to share these tips about is um, Drafts, which I talked about in a previous video, and in. I'll put a link in the show notes. to that video. And I'm also going to talk about these tips that I'm going to go over with Google Keep. The reason is there are many people who Google Keep is a wonderful solution for, but I personally use drafts for the majority of my quick capture and other just plain note taking. So let's talk about what we can do with drafts to capture ideas quickly, easily, and effortlessly. That's the first one. So the Drafts app, which you can go to getdrafts.com and grab it. You can go to the the Apple store for your iPhone, your um, iPad. It is, and frankly, your Mac desktop. So Drafts is a Mac only application. You can just download it for free. There is a premium version, but you can get started using it for free. I am not sponsored by them. I am not I don't have an affiliate link. It's just simply a program I have used for a very long time. So, what are the ways? I talked about this one, but I want to just start with being willing to say this is going to be, first of all, this is going to be my quick capture tool. When I open the application on my phone, for example, it I can just simply start typing immediately. I don't have to navigate any menus, I don't have to click any buttons. I can just start capturing the information that I want to write down. What are things you want to write down? Phone numbers, reference numbers, tag numbers, ideas, brainstorm lists, to do lists, reminders, appointments. Those are all kinds of notes that you can just capture very quickly. Grab them and forget about them. But even more importantly, you can use voice input, meaning in drafts, you can dictate your thoughts. You just simply tap the microphone app and it types the information for you. I love this. A long time ago, we used to voice record, and we would have the audio, we would have the recording, which meant you had to go back and listen to the recording and then transcribe it. It was great for quick capture, but it added the step of having to now go back and retype that information. Voice capture does the typing so you don't have to go back and retype the information that you captured. So drafts is great for this. One of the ways I use this idea, and I do this idea that I'm about to say next, the third idea is just create a note page as a daily journal. Imagine having a physical piece of paper or physical notepad, the old fashioned legal pads that we used to use. And you would just you'd open it, you'd grab a pen, you'd put the date at the top, and throughout the day, you just write down all of the stuff that came up. Somebody gave you a phone number, somebody left you a message, somebody asked you to do something, you thought about things you needed to get at the store or errands you needed to do. You just jot them down. We'll create that same kind of daily journal draft, just a single page. And as the day go along, you're just simply capturing your thoughts, your ideas, your list in there. Huge boon. Why? You're not having to think about this document versus that document, this note versus that note. What did I name it? Where did I put it? You've just got a list for the day with the date on it. If you can remember, I was in September. So now all you got to do is narrow down and look for those notes that you took in September in the app. And I'll talk about search later. Great way to use a note taking system. And right now I'm talking about using drafts. Think you can voice record on that same note, you can type on that same note, and there are some other ways you can get information into that same note, but I'm going to talk about those two particularly. You can use it on your phone, you can use it on your computer, you can use it on your iPad, and it's the same note. The next idea that I want you to think about and encourage you is when you start to think about things to do and you're capturing them in that daily journal note, make them very actionable. Make those tasks actionable in that single page. Last year, I believe it was, I created a video on how to name tasks so that they're very actionable using verbs. I also on my website, florencedonald.live, there is a PDF with some action verbs that you can use if you struggle with that, knowing what they are. But making those actionable items very useful and easy to find is a great tip. And I do it now almost unconsciously. When I'm thinking this is something I want to do, I naturally start with an actionable verb and not a noun or an idea. So you can again put those lists, those actionable items, right in the same page. The next item and the last one, in terms of capturing quickly and easily and effortlessly, is be willing to learn how to use automation tools like Apple Shortcuts to get information into your notes. So that if you have certain types of notes that you take, meeting notes, conversation notes, um, a grocery list, that is structured and you don't have to restructure it each time you start to capture that information. It's the template is there, the structure is there, and you're just simply inputting it into the Drafts app. And this works great, especially when you're mobile, when you're running around, you're doing errands, even sometimes when you're in your home. Because remember, you've got voice activation. Okay. So those are quick ways using drafts to do that very first thing, capture. What are the benefits? You eliminate notes on paper. You put it in, you've got quick access to all of your notes without having to click around in menus. You have multiple ways to put the notes into your tool, voice, typing, taking a, taking a picture, frankly, you can do, even grabbing website links or using automation to put information into it. Those are the benefits. Make it quick, easy, and you don't have to give it any thought about A, where it's going, or B, how you're going to get it in there. And lastly, you don't have to worry about clicking around. A lot of notes apps, there are too many steps to just getting the content in, getting the idea down. And that's one of the reasons, myself included, I'm about to say, we often will resort to using paper because it takes too many steps. Okay? The second thing you want to do is now that you're capturing all this stuff in drafts, you want to organize it. And this is the one that gets us all. We don't want to invest the energy into organizing our data. I'm going to use notes, but it's truly true in everything. Anything, I, I absolutely abhor filing paper. I cannot stand doing it. And it has always been one of my weaknesses. It is just a whole problem in my world. It is a problem. Telling on myself, not telling on anybody. But for some reason, I didn't have the same reaction to organizing digital information. So, your notes, when you take them in this very unstructured way, at some point you must take the time to organize them. What I do and what I encourage you to do is take the time at the end of the day. And in my case, I do it twice at the end of the day, and I'll explain. But that's when you look at those notes you've captured and say, is it a to do? Is it just a brain? Is it just a list of things I want to keep? Is it a reference? Is it an appointment? Is it um, um, what is it called when you get a number when they say you paid this and here's how you have it? I call it a reference number or just anything like that, right? Reference information that you want to keep. What is it? Okay, Gretchen, I see you over there. I'm gonna come back to that. But what is this information? I do this at the end of my corporate day because I get all kind of notes. I'm having conversations with people, ideas, things I want to do, ways I want to deal with processes, ways I want to deal with documents. I'm jotting those notes down during the day. I also do it in the rest of my life. Example, last week I realized I wanted to add in, I'll go back to it. I wanted to add in a way for the community, those who are new, for me to be able to quickly see who's new and who's regular member of the live tribe. So I made a note to just add in something to say, let people know. So if you're new here and you've never been here, put hashtag newbie. And if you're a regular, like somebody like Miss Gretchen, put hashtag live tribe in. We'll know and I can easily identify. But that was something that came to me as an idea. I just captured it in drafts. That's an example. But then you've got to organize that using a number of ways. One is using tags or labels. When I showed drafts last week, I showed you can add a tag to any note to say what it is or who it is or however you think of separating those notes. So that's one way. Use tags on your notes. Another is change the way you name the top part. The very first line of the note is key. It's what you're going to see first, and learning to name those notes so that they make sense to you and that they are easy for you to remember their triggers. Let's say, for example, if you always start, like, I'll give you an example for me. Every meeting I have, I always start with the date. It doesn't matter what the meeting is, who it's with, I started with the date. So my brain has been trained. If it's a meeting, look for the date first. And the date is always in the same format. 2-digit month slash 2-digit day slash 4-digit year. I do it exactly the same way for all meeting notes. That way, I can remember something was in September or December or February, and then I streamline finding it. The next thing is you also want to put time aside, maybe once a week, once every other week, to do a little keeping. This is part of the organization. Delete anything you don't need. If you haven't taken the opportunity to organize those notes by adding tags, changing the title of the note or the top line of the note in drafts, use that time. Also, if you haven't done things like using headings and bullet points and indents and numbers, sequential numbering, take the time then to add those kinds of triggers or formatting into your notes. All of that will help you go, oh, yeah, I had a bullet point list of this set of things I wanted to do. Oh, I use these tags to always say, let's say I have a list of books that I want to read. So all books I want to read, the tag is books to read. All books that I read is books I've read in 2024, for example. So those are things you can do. I've talked a lot. And we got some new people in the building with us. So I'm going to come and say hello to some of my friends out there. And if you have comments about what I've shared so far, please put them in the comments. And I want to hear what you got to say. Hello, David Hunt, moderator. Salute to you, and the host with the most. Well, I don't know about that, but thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Hi, Gretchen. You think of filing papers like shelving books in my library. You know what's interesting? I loved the library and I worked in a library and I absolutely loved filing books in the library. Until you just said this, it never occurred to me that I could train my brain to think filing paper is like shelving books in the library. Because truly, filing your digital notes, it's just like that. It's shelving books in a library. Thank you. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. And thank you for saying hashtag live tribe. Oh, I'm in. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm going to go back and make sure I didn't miss a comment from anybody. Miss Yolanda, hello, ma'am, again. And thank you for saying yay. I didn't miss anybody. So let me go on to the next thing. Now that you've taken all these notes, you've captured the information in drafts, you've used text formatting, tags, maintenance to get your notes, keep them organized and keep them clean, and you know what they are. How in the world do you use, what are the capabilities within this that you can use to find it, right? If you have 10,000 notes, you're not going to remember the name of everyone. You're not going to remember when everyone was taken. Ask me how I know. I have over 10,000 notes in my note system. But I can find most things pretty quickly. And the very first technique I use is using search. Took me a while to start to use search. But the search bar at the top of drafts or in any notes application really does help you find notes quickly because you're using keywords and phrases. And the software can search for those words across multiple notes faster than you can scroll and flip through them yourself. So, first thing is learn to use search in drafts. Gretchen, lady, I'm coming to see you some kind of way. You just, ooh, I got to star that. I love it. Y'all, she just put gold in the chat. But using search, one of the things that I do use drafts for is this very thing. There are a couple things I use every week and I leave them in drafts. Instead of me remembering, I just have a couple of words I throw in and the note comes right up and then I'm good to go. So using search is huge. The second one, I talked about it, but learning to tag or label notes to make categories of notes. I showed that last week. Whatever those categories are for you will help you filter notes and have a smaller group of notes or type of note that you're searching for. In drafts, you also have, I showed this last week in a video so you can go back and watch it, these workspaces. They operate similar to folders. So create those workspaces so that when you go to the workspace, all of the notes that you tagged in a certain way or with a certain category, they're filtered out and they come together. Example, I use ministry and the name of my church, one word that represents my church, to filter notes that are related to my church. When I want to see in drafts things that I keep in there that are specific to that area of my life. So that category, everything else is out of the way. I don't see it. It's just this very small group of notes that I have in drafts. I could do a search, but I'm going to get a larger group by tagging them and then making the workspace. It narrows down. It's only about 5 notes that I keep in drafts, but it helps me to get to those quickly. This is finding the information after you put it in. So if you use these few techniques, you will reduce your stress, find your information, and be more productive, because when you go to sit down to work and you're working on a particular project or a particular area of your life or a particular task, your notes are organized in drafts so that you can get to them quickly. You can find them very quickly, and you've got what you need. So that's the core, those 3 steps. But within that, I had multiple techniques that you could follow. Pick the techniques that work for you, and you can apply these same techniques across other applications. Okay. The last technique I'm going to share in this finding is make sure that when you use drafts, you have it sync across all your devices. And I said you can use it on your iPhone, your iPad, and your computer. It's a Mac only application. But set it up so that it's syncing across all of those devices, so that when you're capturing, you're organizing, or you're searching for notes, it you can achieve the result regardless of the device that you're using. You don't have to be in the situation where I can only get to my notes if I'm on my computer. I can only get to my notes if I'm on my iPad. I can only get to my notes if I'm on my phone. Nope. You can get to your notes and they stay in sync regardless of which of those devices you're on. Oftentimes, tell you how this comes in handy for me. Oftentimes, I will be someplace and I'll need to capture a quick note. I really need it on my computer, but I'm not on near the computer. I'll capture the note on my phone in drafts before I get back to my computer. The information I need at the computer is waiting for me. And all I do is open up drafts and it's right there. Okay. We've got somebody else who just joined us. I want to say hello. And I also want to put this up because Miss Gretchen, the librarian in us, got to make yourself a Dewey Decimal System. Melville Dewey to the rescue. All right. Yes, ma'am. Make yourself a Dewey Decimal. I want to see that when you make it. Can you make a video about that? That would be awesome. If you make a video about your Dewey Decimal System and your digital notes, that would be amazing. Hey, Roy, I'm glad you're back in the house safe, out there driving with down power lines. Sir, I am so glad that you're back safe. I couldn't believe you were doing that. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Please don't let anything happen while he's out here live streaming. So let's go back through these ideas using Google Keep, because not everyone is a sole Mac user. So Google Keep is an awesome tool if you need cross platform If you're in the Google ecosystem, great tool, quick to get to. You can do this something very similar. I did some videos on this. Operates a little bit differently, and it has some capabilities that you don't directly have in drafts. So the first thing is being able to capture ideas quickly, regardless of the device you're on. So the first thing is, I would say, use the Google Keep mobile app on your phone and on your iPad. So that when you're mobile, when you're walking around or you're out, you're in the car, you're with your family or whatever, you can capture notes and ideas very quickly. So the Google Keep mobile app is step one. Use that extensively. Similarly to drafts, Google Keep, you can take voice notes and it will transcribe, or as I call it, it will type your notes for you into text. Both of these applications, Drafts and Google Keep, has this capability for you. So to me, it's much faster and easier to grab those ideas. The third idea that I talked about with Drafts, I would say do the same thing with Google Keep. That is, make a note page for a daily note. Just as a place to just grab all of the ideas, all the things for the day. Make one single note, not 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 separate notes for the day. Make one note in your Google Keep software that you use. The other is you can use Google Keep to get information from other apps. From You can put images in there. You can put browser. You can grab links, URLs. I'll tell you a great one. Should I tell on myself? Do y'all want me to tell on myself? Tell you what I do? If you do, let me know. If you don't say anything, I'm not going to tell on myself. But I actually use Google Keep along with drafts because there are times when I'm in a situation where I need to grab something that I need to get in our personal system. And because of the device I'm using, I don't have access to drafts the way I need it to work. I use Google Keep as my backup. And then I have automation set that takes it out of Google Keep and pushes it to drafts for me. So you can grab information in the Google Keep on a mobile device, on a web browser, on Android, on iOS, works great. And you can capture all kind of information similar to drafts. The other thing you can use is the share feature on your phone to move information into it and out of it. So just remember that you can use the share feature on your phone. The second part is you got to do the same thing in Google Keep that you had to do in drafts. You have to organize your notes effectively. If you just throw it in there and you do no organization, you're not going to help yourself. You're just going to be in that situation that I described at the very beginning, where you start and you can't find what you need. Google Keep uses labels, another word for tags. Again, set up your categories or your labels so that they work in your life the way you need it to work. Whether it's work and personal projects, certain organizations, certain people, figure out what those categories are. Using your note app is a great way to do that, to just start writing down the categories you think you would use. And then use those categories as your labels to organize your notes. The next one is color coding. You can color code your notes in Google Keep. And I remember when I learned about Google Keep, it was through color coding. It was through color coding the notes, and I had never heard of Google Keep. And I was watching a video, and the person showed it, and I was like, oh. But if you use colors, quick way to organize if certain colors have a certain meaning to you. You can use colors, you can use images along with that to organize your notes. The other thing you can do in Google Keep is you can pin important notes so that they stay at the top of your Google Keep dashboard. So you can pin. And last in organizing, remember, maintenance of your notes is important. At the end of the day or end of every other day or end of the week, all those random notes you've taken, those daily pages, go through and sort what's in there, where it really needs to be. Do you need to keep it? Get rid of anything you don't need to keep. Archive anything that you need to keep, but you don't need it in your active view. Do that regular maintenance. Process that stuff and get it where you need it. Rename those that need to be renamed. Um, Add, if it's action items, rename them so that you're using verbs to start them and you know exactly what you're going to be doing when you see it. If it's um, something that needs to go into another application, move it to the other application. You all, if you've never heard, I use Evernote. So both Google Keep and Drafts is a temporary holding space for me for the majority of my notes. That may not be your situation. You can leave them all in either one. I just happen to use it that way. So I have processes, workflows set up so that I move it out of my temporary note system into where I want to keep it if it's long term and I want to use it. So set the time aside, and you don't need a lot of time, like 10 minutes here and there. You can get through processing and organizing your notes. The last one is make sure you use the features in the software to be able to find your notes quickly. Search in Google Keep is really powerful. You can use keywords, labels, and in the case of Google Keep, colors associated with your notes. And you can search them to find what you're looking for. But this works really well if you do part 2, which is organize your notes and not just leave them random in there, disorganized and just chaotic. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to reduce your strife. Okay? So we've talked about using really search, and you can use um, the labels as kind of workspaces within Google Keep. So if you only want to see notes that are associated with Apron Diva, since she's in the building, then every note that's labeled Apron or Apron Diva, then you filter out everything else and you just focus on that body of notes that have to do with Apron Diva. Okay? And remember, you can do the same thing with Google Keep that you can do with Drafts. If you have multiple mobile devices, set up, like I said, install the Google Keep app on those multiple devices so that your notes sync across your multiple devices. This is where it's a little bit different between Drafts and Google Keep. But if you have an Android and an iPad, it'll still sync. Drafts is Mac only. So Google Keep, you can have different environments, if you will, and you can still sync your data. If you have a Windows computer and a Mac computer, like I do, you can use the browser. Your notes are still syncing, and you can access them regardless of where you are. What system, what hardware, equipment you're using, it won't matter because you can get to them. And because you've done the middle piece, because you have organized those notes effectively with naming, with categorizing, with separating and doing the maintenance to delete the cruft, the stuff that you don't need, and then making sure what you do need to keep is as you go keep do you need to maintain and be able to access later, then you can be efficient and not have the case of, oh my goodness, I took a note. I don't know where it is. Oh my goodness, what did I name that? Oh my goodness, where did I put it? You can just sit down and go to work. You can simply sit down and go to work. So I'm going to go back to this. What is your challenge with note taking and retrieving notes? Does What do you need to solve? What is the problem you need to solve in your workflow, and how these tips that I've shared today in two different apps so that you know they're very similar, but there are differences and there are reasons you would want to use one versus the other. So we've got some new folks that have shown up. We've got some new folks. We've got Miss Denise Jordan with Homemaking with Denise in the building. Thank you that you said you liked it. Glad to have you here. And I did see this gentleman, Mr. Michael Flemings. Welcome to the party. Glad to have you in the building with us. If you have a question for me, Q colon, and let me know. If you don't have a question, I'm not going to hang out here and keep you all night. So, if you have not subscribed to the channel, I would encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And let's keep this going. I didn't share with you all today, special day. Today is the 100th live stream that I've done. This is number 100. Amazing. When I started in October 2 years ago, I don't think I could have even imagined. I know I didn't imagine doing 100 live streams. So today when I realized I was looking at, actually not even today, this week, and I was going through and preparing and I'm looking and it's saying in my notes, episode 100, I'm like, wow. You all are wonderful. You have made this journey so enjoyable. And I feel like, well, I know I couldn't have done it without you all, without each and every. Denise, you've been here from the beginning. Roy, you've been here from the beginning. Frank, well, Frank and the emotional CEO claim that they couldn't get out of it. But they've been here long before the beginning when it was an idea and I was trying to figure out how do you even get started. And Inanea and Micah and Yolanda and David, you guys and Gretchen, you all have come along. And I'm like, I need to, you know what? I look for you all and I want to know what you all are up to, what you've got going on, like Gretchen building her studio and David putting out this fabulous stuff with music and Denise keeping our homes running. Great. And Yolanda, you got me liking football. I can't believe it. I have told people, I won't even tell you how long I've told people I hate football. And now I think I like football. What in the world? So thank you all for helping me get here. I'm elated. I'm elated and I cannot thank you enough. You mean so much to me. And for my personal growth, this has been a huge personal growth journey for me. And I thank you for that. With that, I'm going to say enjoy. Go watch the video that's going to pop up right here. Subscribe to the channel. And remember, leave a comment in the chat about your challenge with note taking and also what tips you're applying. Thank you all.